Hi friends, it's Rabbi Jenny Solomon from Beth Myers Synagogue in Raleigh, North Carolina, here with a mincha moment. So we are in the week of Parashat Ki Tavo. We're moving towards the end of the book of Devarim, of Deuteronomy, as we sort of continue our march through the month of Elul, as we near the holidays, as we near this new year, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, which will follow. A time of great anticipation and excitement, and hopefully deep reflection. And in this week's Torah portion, there is a very famous passage, often referred to as Arami Oved Avi. My father was a wandering Aramean. And we repeat this text not only in this week's Torah portion, but actually during the Passover Seder as well. One of the things that I think is so powerful is that the Torah teaches us that when we enter the land, when we reach our destination, and again, you can think about that really expansively in terms of all the destinations that we're reaching in our own lives, we will have a story to tell. And there's something very powerful about how we choose to tell that story. And in this short passage, in which we are actually given a script of sorts of what we are to say, we start off by saying, my father was a wandering Aramean, which is to say, I come from really humble beginnings. And the text goes on to detail our slavery and our oppression. And so we don't skip over the fact that we have been through tremendous hardship and difficulty. And then we mention that as we come into this new land and we eventually reap our first fruits, we stop and we offer thanks. That we detail where we've come from, including the most difficult moments. And then as we begin to create roots, and not only roots, but harvest the goodness and the joy of whatever our plantings happen to be, we stop and we give thanks. I love this speech. This speech really speaks so directly to my heart in terms of the story that I tell and that I want to tell and choose to tell as I reach sort of each promised land along the way. But I'm thinking about this also in terms of how we tell the story of this year as we reflect and prepare to enter a new year. How do we want to tell the story of how we have encountered some of the challenges of this past year as individuals, as families, as a community? And I think that there is incredible, it's a very value-driven process to discern how we want to tell the story, both to ourselves and to one another. So I want to just offer that invitation in your own prayer life, in your meditation practice, and whatever your spiritual practice is, to be open to considering how you want to tell your story and the power and the dignity and agency and freedom, ultimately, that comes with that storytelling. And then I also want to say, tell the story. I was so touched. A colleague of mine here at Beth Meyer was talking about her own child who's returning to school, and because COVID interrupted her kindergarten year, she was actually now returning to third grade, almost as if she's never been in elementary school before. And just very naturally, in the back seat of the car, she was sort of reviewing, first I entered kindergarten, and then we went home, and sort of telling the story. And as her mom was retelling this to me, again, I was just so touched by this human urge and need that we have to tell our stories, and that in creating an arc of narrative, we help also create meaning and purpose and really tell the story of who we are. And at the end of the day, as Jews, we are Yehudim. Literally, we are people who offer up our thanks and our gratitude. And speaking of gratitude, I'm really touched by the idea that when I just pause to think about what I'm grateful for, usually the things are very simple and very present, very tangible. For this breath, for this beating heart, for these breathing lungs, for this ground that I'm sitting on, for air to breathe, for a cup of coffee. And so these are not necessarily things I've worked long and hard for, nor are they hard to reach or achieve. And so I'm just reminded of the spiritual riches that come in pausing to be grateful for what's already here. And finally, I want to say that there are 2 upcoming opportunities for mindfulness practice. I would love to have you join me. The first is this Thursday as part of the Institute for Jewish Spirituality's month of Shemitah reflection in preparation for the holidays, but also in preparation for this sabbatical year that we are entering. So this Thursday from 12:30 to 1, you can find the link on my Facebook page. And then also with in partnership with Dr. Barbara Vosk on Sunday night through Beth Meyer's offerings, we'll be offering a restorative yoga practice on Zoom, free for Beth Meyer folks, to help us open our hearts and soften our minds and our bodies as we prepare for the days of awe ahead. So join me, and wishing everyone peace. Shalom.